And then I need to fix this.
Hey guys, welcome to Bootleg Weekly on Tuesday. Appreciate Tevis being willing to move it for me. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight, a lot of macro, some Tesla, of course. I think that we need to first talk about Nvidia, though. We had a big headline that dropped. Did you catch that, Tevis?
Yeah, I did the H100 ban.
H20s, but yeah. Yeah, so let me pull a couple things up here. By the way, as always, we'll get to your guys' questions at the end. So be sure to put your questions there. We'll take some as we go too, but we'll try to hit as many as we can afterwards. Let me share my screen. We'll start with that. Yeah, so Nvidia bounced up to 112 and it's down 6.33% after hours. So still up from where it was at the bottom before at 94, which was ridiculous. Frankly, 105 even is pretty silly. But no, this was a meaningful reason to drop. Speaking of dropping. All right. We'll just go with me and hopefully Tevis can get back here. What we're looking at is this headline right here. Nvidia faces $5.5 billion charge as U.S. restricts chip sales to China. And well, let me just play this. I don't know if I actually shared the sound, so maybe I won't. So in essence, there was a deal a year and a half, 2 years ago, where the United States basically restricted chips from going to Nvidia or from Nvidia to China directly. So the H100s were the top of the line chip. The United States is like, hey, there's not enough of these. We want to keep ahead of China. We're going to restrict those. And there's been some argumentation that, you know, China's maybe getting some through Singapore, and there probably are getting some. I expect that there's always holes no matter how tight the tariffs are. But since then, United States has tried to reshore a lot of industry. Nvidia had agreed to a $500 billion commitment to manufacture data centers in the United States. And in return for the H20s, which is the not quite as powerful chip, still good, that China is allowed to have, in return for no tariffs being on that. And then this drops, that the United States decided to rug pull Nvidia, I guess, is a way that it reads. And so Nvidia is taking a $5.5 billion hit in charges, and this will continue indefinitely per the language reading from the headline. So, Tevis, what do you think?
It's kind of crazy how government can just fully control what a business, like where they can and can't sell. Like, I don't know. It just feels like there should be some grounds for some legislation there, or grounds for like a lawsuit, essentially, because the government can just come out tomorrow and say Nvidia can't sell in China. Like, okay, well, you know, what if the government comes out tomorrow and says Nvidia can't sell in Europe? And then, like, at what point does it become beyond protectionist, let's say, of that technology and just completely destructive to that business? Like, we live in a global era. Like, I don't understand. I get that. I get the news in isolation. What I'm trying to highlight, though, is the principle, when extrapolated, can really become a slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, like, it seemed like one of the goals that we talked about with the tariffs was making sure the United States is developing manufacturing that's critical to its infrastructure, as well as bring back jobs. Encouraging Nvidia, and Nvidia was like, hey, we're going to comply with this, and TSM as well, for that matter, to develop those products here in the United States, manufacture here in the United States, at least some of those things. The numbers quoted were not small. You know, that's a big deal on both of those. It's like, okay, great. You get a win, easy win on bringing some jobs back. You get an easy win on securing basically here domestically something that's very critical to our infrastructure. And then they're like, and oh yeah, in return, we won't tariff these H20s. Just kidding. Dude, like, what do you think Jensen's response is going to be on this?
Well, it's also like, I think he kind of got rug pulled as well because like it came one day after the news that they were like investing in the U.S. and he's like, "Well, about that, I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me. It's just we live in a soap opera and every day is a new episode, and that's just the framing that I've accepted for the world around me, because there's no real other explanation. Like, yeah, I would assume he's pissed. I would also assume that like there absolutely has been. Well, actually, maybe let me ask you this: like, do you think that a lot of this stuff is pre-planned and he was um, somewhat in the know slash consulted because of the proximity of the other news, or do you think it's just like shooting from the hip, Wild West? You know,
Dude, if this was a different administration, yes, they probably would have consulted him and said, "Hey, this is coming."
yeah,
This is the Trump administration. They don't consult. They just do things, and they can change their mind in 2 seconds. It's annoying as investors, but imagine this: so part of the other hit too is that essentially they manufactured or they have in the pipeline all of H20s that they can no longer sell to China. If I'm reading it correctly, I don't know if this is a full ban. Nvidia said on Tuesday the United States government informed it on April, so they did get like that is today. This is what happened, that the H20 chip would require a license to be exported to China, and on April 14th told Nvidia those rules would be in place immediately. So they did have like less than a week on April 9th. So actually just 1 week. It was on the 8th that they're like, hey, this is happening. And on the 14th, yeah, effective indefinitely.
well, look, I mean, if I was and this is 15% of their market, the revenue.
It's let me pull it up.
Yeah, 10 to 15% ish.
I'm new enough in Nvidia. I don't want to like say and be laughed at. It can happen so easy.
But still, like, regardless, you know, if I were Jensen, I'd say, okay, well, like, what are you going to do to make it up, you know, for those sales? Are you going to give me tax credits on the US side? Are you going to give me subsidies? Or like, what benefits are you giving me to make up for the revenue that you're forcing me to lose now? And I think that totally makes sense given the context of their declaration of investment in the US, which by and large was positive news for this whole, you know, Trump's entire plan of bringing more businesses into the US. And he's like, all right, well, like, you know, if I were Jensen, I would say, I'm playing by your rules now. We're also going to be in the US as opposed to offshore. And now you're taking away a part of my market. Like, there needs to be some reciprocity in terms of that exchange.
So yeah, here they're close to $40 billion in revenue. Just underneath it, of course, most of that comes from data center, gaming, some visualization, a little bit, auto, and other. So you know, if you look at them basically taking 5.5 billion hit, if that's a per quarter expectation, like it's big. Nvidia should probably be down on the news, but it still shouldn't be this far. But and like that's the thing, is we don't really know. Like they said, in order for you to export these H20s, and they will be tariffed, you're going to need a license. Okay, well, how many licenses are you giving out? Who are you giving it out to? What's the guidelines of that? Well, we don't know.
Yeah, it just,
What are you doing?
yeah, like I believe the term for that is extortion. It's like the mob coming to your shop saying, "Hey, do you need some protection?" And you're like, "No," and they're like, "No, no, no, I think you do." It's the same thing. They're like, "Oh, you need these licenses now that magically didn't exist yesterday, and now they do." It's just, I don't know, man. It's a crazy world we live in.
And you can't operate this way. 1 second.
Well, not over the long term, um, because like it's just unpredictable. You don't know what's coming next, right?
Well, I mean, like Nvidia, they'll figure it out, but this should give pause. This is going to give pause to a lot of people in the market. Like they'll look at this and they'll be like, okay, so the United States government contacted Nvidia a week ago and said, hey, guess what we're doing? We're making up new licenses. Okay, tell us about them. We can't. Okay, what do they mean? It means you cannot export your H20s that you're making 20 something billion dollars on over the next year. Oh, okay. Well, didn't we just agree literally to invest in your infrastructure in your country? in return for no tariffs. Like, this is just, I'm frustrated. I'm mad. Even if I wasn't holding Nvidia, I'd be mad, because it's not just about Nvidia. It's about what it signals to other companies as well. That many of those early on Trump's administration were like, hey, we're going to go ahead and invest infrastructure here in the United States and build that out. Apple was one of those ones in a big way. They're not going to do the iPhones, but they have some products that they'll be manufacturing over here. All of a sudden, they might look at this and say, you know what? We did this, in return for the United States, making sure that they wouldn't do certain things. They've hit us with potential tariffs in China, and then those are on pause. And it's just like, how do you know what to build out as far as infrastructure, as far as capital expenditures as a business, when you don't know what tomorrow holds at all? You can't. That is no place for businesses to operate. So this isn't just about like what it does to stocks or what it does to Nvidia. As a whole, it disrupts businesses, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah, it is very frustrating. And like, it causes the entire markets to go down because of what it represents, right? That uncertainty that's underlying. It's not like, oh, Nvidia is the canary in the coal mine for the market sentiment. It's no. It's that this can happen to Nvidia today. This can happen to your holding tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I think that's the through line. And I found it funny here how this comment. This is bullish AMD. It's like, my guy, AMD is down more than Nvidia is in after hours, and they weren't even mentioned in this news. AMD just gets the short end of the stick, man. I swear.
Yeah, we still don't know how everything's going to shake out. As far as tariffs and everything. Things could still be good, but like, this is so freaking chaotic. It's so chaotic. This is giving me, and like, we're going to talk about macro and tariffs and everything like that. But it's giving me the same feels as I had, 5 weeks ago. I don't know if you remember that bootleg when I came and you said I was like the most frustrated you ever seen because of the chaotic nature of a lot of the policies that were coming out. And you can't operate like that. It's hard for anybody to trust you as far as like building out things long term. You can't. And yes, I understand United States has an amazing consumer market, has amazing relations, it has all these amazing things, but you can absolutely mess that up if people are like, hey, that's amazing, but we won't be able to do anything with it. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
And I voted for the guy. So like, I'm not it's the first time I ever voted for him. And I'm just like, I was thinking we'd get some tariffs. I wasn't excited about that, but like this, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, again, my wider point around this Nvidia news, and I don't know, maybe Tanner might be watching, might not be, but my wider point is like, where does it start and where does it end, that jurisdiction? Because if it's sort of free reign for all businesses that can be targeted tomorrow, depending on how Trump wakes up, then that's a very slippery slope, because then you have to ask yourselves, to what ends will this one person go to win this tariff war or whatever, that, like, whatever framing they have in their mind. And you're essentially leaving it into the hands of one person, which is kind of crazy, because through executive orders, he just gets around all the actual legislature and the structures that have been in place to make it like a democratic system. And I don't know, it's just what it represents is the main thing. I don't hold Nvidia. I pretty much welcome this dip because I can buy Nvidia cheaper. So if nothing else, this is like positive for me because I can buy cheaper, and I still believe it's a good company that's going to succeed. But the reason I'm critical is because there is no rhyme or reason to when these pieces of news drop, and there is seemingly no boundaries to who is affected, company, industry, country, whatever have you, right? Like, everything is on the table, and it seems very arbitrary. Like, there's no logic around how any of these moves are happening. It seems very emotional gut responses, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Who said it? Private had said, what's Trump's administration's goal? That's what everyone is confused about. That's a problem. We've talked about it before, but Okay, the tariffs, are they supposed to bring back industry and manufacturing to the United States,
Yeah.
or to secure and make sure that those industries that are critical to the United States infrastructure develop here? Or is it to fix the trade gap? Or is it to even the level global trade? And there's some other goals as well out there. It's like, it's hard to do all of those.
Yeah.
Or bring additional revenue. Like, that's another big one. Like, hey, we're going to get in a lot of additional revenue and pay off the debt and the deficit, and maybe eliminate income tax, which, I mean, yay, but oh man, like, this is just, and the craziest thing to me, Tevis, is like, we don't know. Like, tomorrow, this could be all off again.
Yeah.
But markets need certainty, and businesses also need certainty. This is not healthy for businesses. So let me show. We're not pivoting away from Nvidia, but I thought that this was super interesting. United Airlines. I'm not an investor. Not interested in airlines. Like, I think it's terrible to invest in airlines, frankly, other than maybe a trade. But we saw the United Airlines publish 2 sets of guidelines. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that. Not necessarily even recessionary environment, but just like, hey, if tariffs are a thing versus stable environment, not what we have right now. I mean, it is in terms of not having a recession right now, but in a lot of other companies as well are not, they've reported and they're not sure whether or not we'll have a recession. It's kind of split and divided. These sort of things can cause a recession, just because a lot of businesses that we're going to spend are going to be like, okay, let's wait until the dust settles.
Yeah.
It may be 3.5 years before the dust settles. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it could be.
Yeah, I mean, look, from a sentiment perspective, you sort of open a Pandora's box every time you make statements like this, because even if tomorrow let's say they roll back the Nvidia news that dropped today, and Nvidia makes back the 6% that just lost overnight, I think the wider idea of the fact that they can at any given point in time open this discussion again, that is a lingering uncertainty that was introduced the first time they did this. And again, if they're making measured moves with a wider goal in mind, and it has a strategic importance for them to be making these moves, and all these moves are pre-planned, that's one thing. But, I kind of agree with B-dubs here, right? Like, the whole idea of like the deficit and all this stuff is smoke and mirrors. Like, he's going after China. And I think a lot of people are sort of on the same train of thought because of how targeted the recent pieces of news have been around China specifically, to the point where, like, they say, okay, 90-day pause for everybody except China. And again, it just opens that door for further uncertainty, because that's a situation that you do not want to go into if you're holding equities, because it's like a tit for tat escalation between the 2 biggest global superpowers, and that's not the setup for the roaring 20s that you are hoping for.
No, it's not at all. Yeah, I don't know if we're still getting that. I'm going to have to do some thinking whether I even want to just pause my DCAing completely at this point. I'm not going to sell, but it feels like we can go substantially lower. Like, I was actually thinking when you did your title and it said, kangaroo market or is the bottom end.
Yeah.
I think we probably hit the bottom. We may trade in a range for a little while. It's like, well, no, I'm probably wrong.
Well,
and if so, like, we were that close to closing on a bear market in the S&P 500. Now, that doesn't mean like there's lots of pain involved. Like, bear markets can be very, very very brief, or they can be very long. I think that once there's actually some stability and not all this chaos, and maybe Trump just needs to take a 3-month vacation or something, then we can rebound nicely, because earnings should be very good. The scary thing is going to be during this earnings season is guidance. Like, a lot of companies, how do you guide in this scenario, Tevis?
Yeah, I would say like a lot of companies will be pulling guidance altogether. at least for the next couple of quarters. They might still keep their full year guidance, but they might just pull, next quarter guidance. It's concepts of a plan. The funny part, Roy, is that when I made that title for like, is the market bottomed or is it a kangaroo market? This was before the Nvidia news.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it was kind of like a clickbaity title of like, oh, like we reached the bottom, or are we going to go down? And literally 30 minutes later or 1 hour later, the Nvidia news came out. And it's just, I feel it's so emblematic of where we sit right now.
Yes, and Tanner had a good take too. He does occasionally. No, just kidding. But with his Nvidia thing, it's like this really what it's doing is ensuring that China will develop their own. Like I'm sure they were working on it anyway, but like this is like okay, they're absolutely going to do that. Hurts Nvidia. It's not good for trade relations. On the same day, we had Trump basically say the administration. I don't know if it's Trump directly say, "Oh yeah, we're very open to a deal with China and things are working out pretty well," and then like 2 minutes later, I think, or like, yeah, we don't have to do a deal with China at all. Like we can just move on and like people around the world can decide if they want to align with China or us.
Yeah.
Chaos.
This is such a dumb take. Like, Cyber Ninja, I love you, but this is the dumb take, dude. Because like China has over 5,000 years of history. Do you think they really need the US? Yes. We're in a globalized world, and they're the two biggest superpowers. But Egypt has 5,000 years of history. Where are they in the global, race? Like nations change over time, man. Like it doesn't just because they've been around for a long time. I'm not saying they're going to cease to be around, but they might cease to be relevant if this goes wrong or if history forks. And that's not me taking shots. That's just me knowing my history, because you've had multiple forks in history of different empires being at the top at different times.
Yeah, and Heinz is right. China needs US. US doesn't need China on the same level. But I mean, both the United States and China are better off if they have good relations and good trade relations. They just are.
Yes.
If things get desperate at China, that's when rulers, leaders, and countries can do really stupid stuff. Well, look at history. A lot of the most despotic regimes and a lot of the most violent conflicts that we've had don't come when like everything's great and right at the world and they're thriving economically. It's the opposite, that people get hungry, they get desperate, and then they're willing to do just about anything. So this is not good. Like it's beyond economics and stuff, and it can change like in 2 seconds. Like in the time that we talked, it'd be like, oh, great, we have a deal with China. Cool, that's awesome. Markets will pump, but we don't know.
I think I think news came out that, well, maybe this is actually funny. We can throw up that post that we shared. Was it in our group chat or between us?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. So
here, I found it. I'll throw it up. So I found this post pretty funny. The art of confusion. White House. Trump opened to deal with China. White House. We don't have to make deal with them. White House. Ball is in China's court. Like what? Like yes, those are the options. Yes, no, and maybe. But at least this is positive, I would say. I don't know. Like it's better than no news around them being open to deal with China. Like they haven't closed the door completely. But I think I'm grasping at straws a little bit.
Yeah, S&P 500, by the way, let me make sure that's accurate. Is it not loading after hours? It was down like 0.75%. So not massive, but could be painful.
So let me bring this up as a topic, Roy, and then I'll have you react. You guys need to chill. You're overreacting too much. And I want to pair it with this comment. Hood Retail made this comment about 15 minutes ago saying the market is the first to be affected by this confusion. Nobody has yet to be impacted. Like, I think a lot of our frustration comes from extrapolating outwards as to what could happen. But the reality is that to the normal everyday person that doesn't invest in markets, like, first of all, they're not even up to date to the same level. And second of all, they don't really care nearly to the same level. And I mean the people who have debt instead of equities. So what do you make of that? Like, are we overreacting?
No,
Okay.
probably underreacting.
Okay.
Like it's really simple. The markets do not do well in uncertainty. And this is self-inflicted uncertainty. It's the stupidest kind. Like there's things you can't control. Like, massive hurricane hits and power goes down in one of the major cities in the United States and not sure exactly when it's going to be returning. That sucks, but you can't really do anything about it. But this is self-inflicted chaos. And we don't know what the plan actually is. Like we hear parts of plans. I like Vicent, and I always say his name wrong. So, but I like him. And if that was the plan, like great. It makes sense. It's clear. We know what the goals are. We don't know what the goals are because Lutnick says different things. Trump says different things. And Trump will say different things on different days too. It's like,
Yeah.
so is this all part of his master plan of like causing chaos and ramping up the tension? He has done that before in the negotiations, and I hope that that's what's happening. But right now, boy, it is chaotic.
Yeah.
Maybe, and we did see like to Sujim's point, we saw that with Apple. Apple, was informed like everybody else, and hopefully they at least had a week head start. My goodness, of like, hey, we're going to slap tariffs on these smartphones, and so they flew 5 plane loads over to India. This was just last week. It feels like a long time ago. And then they're told, hey, these are actually going to be exempted, which is weird if the goal is actually to nearshore but apparently that's not the goal in that one. So yeah, it's possible. They have some leverage over the United States too. Like Jensen can easily walk back and say, okay, if you're walking back this, which I mean, technically the United States is not breaking its word, but if you make a license where you can't really sell any chips to China, you're doing even worse than slapping those with tariffs. So
yeah, like last Bootleg, which was on Friday, I called Apple an innovative company again because they filled 5 planes with iPhones. And today we realized, just a few days later, that's actually a big OPEX hit that they didn't really need to have. So things can change fast in this market. Like it feels like we're going through many, many months when it's actually days of what you would expect to happen in these negotiations and the news that drops. Like it's kind of crazy, man. Like the level of access that the people have these days, like we don't really stop to think about it, but you basically have a direct feed of social media into the White House, and you just get press conferences live, you get decisions live, you get off the cuff remarks, you get Trump tweeting while he's golfing and like you're so inundated with a huge volume of news and updates that it's enough to drive you crazy if you let it.
yeah, I like the access and the speed of information, but you can't do policy that way. I don't think they should have done the Zelensky conference. You can't like just tweet out like, hey, maybe we'll nuke China. Like that's essentially what they're doing economically. Maybe like if it works that way, I will be the first to admit, hey, I was wrong. Trump is a genius, and good job. But I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So on that, the way is you sell options.
well, yeah. So it's great. Like here's the thing, because people really are euphoric, and they were when the market was going up into February, myself included, and everybody else. And people were freaking depressed in 2022 when the market was going down. And in both those cases, like they are looking at the glass half empty, where when the market is going up, they're saying, oh man, there's no good deals around. Like I have all this cash, I'm flush because I'm making so much money, but there's nothing really to put it in. And you said you diversify into like crappier investments or investments that you don't know enough about. But in this market, like you're having super volatile swings on both sides. You're having Dow plus 3% on one day and Dow minus 3% on the other day in the same week. And so traders in general, options traders, short-term swing traders, whatever, like they will benefit And I think there's something for everybody where it's like, did you think Nvidia was going to be under 100 again? No? Well, it is. Do you still want to buy it? Yes? Well, go ahead. Yeah, it is scary to write covered calls here.
Yeah. It's wild, man. So I saw, and I think it's worth discussing. Yeah, right below that comment. Yes. So on this, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Somebody else floated this idea as well, but probably Jensen is reaching out to the White House, and it wouldn't be shocking to see a walkback because we've seen that on the tariffs initially, the absolutely crazy tariffs on
Yeah.
Liberation Day. We've seen that now with the Apple tariffs specifically.
Mhm.
Wouldn't be surprising to see that here too. And if you make a prediction on that on X, you may look like a genius in a week or an idiot. But the good thing is, if you're wrong, nobody will remember it. So on something like this. So anyway, like myself, I own Nvidia. I bought more yesterday, part of my DCA strategy, and I was happy to do so actually over the 24-hour markets because I'm like, hey, things look pretty good right now, and it's pretty low. Can always go lower. I just plan to hold. I'm going to question and see what happens here. We may get another meltdown. I don't think it's going to be Black Wednesday, like somebody said, but we could have another day, and it wouldn't be shocking if we're down like 3 or 4% tomorrow in the S&P 500. That's just kind of the reality. This is unsettling. But that saying, like I'm just planning to hold my Nvidia. They're all shares, no options or anything like that. I may add more too, depending on how far down we go. If we go back to like 92 or something silly, then yeah, I'll buy some. I don't think so.
Let me ask you this, Roy. Like, I want you to make a case for the other side, right? Because this is not just a rant. Like, we are seeing it from a glass half full perspective, operating under the assumption that there's going to be some type of deal, that this is a negotiating position, that overarchingly this is temporary. But on the other side, you could argue that if in fact this is, a semi-permanent thing for the foreseeable future, right? And Nvidia's revenues are in fact hit, their EBITDA is going to be in fact hit, their fundamental business story is changed. And so, like, obviously every Nvidia holder has to do that mental arithmetic in their mind, that back in the napkin math around, do they still want to hold it? And when, was that fundamental story corresponding to the stock price, so on and so forth. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people do sell Nvidia here because you were expecting them to do X revenue, and now they're doing, 75% of that amount, or 80% of that amount, or however much corresponds to now this entire market that they've lost out on, with no light at the end of the tunnel as to when this will be pulled off.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's tough to know, like, how long is this going to last? Is it going to be 3.5 years? I actually don't think it'll be 3.5 years, guys. The good news is, if Trump keeps this up, the Republicans will get swept out of office midterms. They will be destroyed. And I tend to vote Republican. So this time I might be like, you know what? Maybe I'll just stay at home. Let these losers go home. That's if they keep this up for 2 years. The reason why we see this is we see this every time when there's economic turbulence, and whether it was something that the president was responsible for or not, but here it's very clearly almost all Donald Trump and his administration. And if it works out, we can also say, hey, it's almost entirely his administration. Good job. I hope it works out. But they will get voted out, and the Democrats will have a majority in the House. It won't be a super majority, and I don't remember how many are up for the Senate. So at that point, that's when the presidential powers really go back closer to actual constitutional norms. Somebody had said in the comments is like, if Biden was golfing, would I be upset with him? Like if Trump took my suggestion and went golfing for 3 months, it's like, no, I actually prefer my presidents to be active when they need to be, but just activity for the sake of activity, which I don't think that's what's happening here, but it's too much. And it's better to have stability, and the presidents largely be figureheads and be there, for the things that presidents actually need to do, which is to be that figurehead, more so than to drive policy from one person who can wake up the next day and just say, you know what, never mind. I'm a
Yeah,
libertarian, so I like a very small government and not very powerful president. I like gridlock in government. I actually usually vote that way. My preferred outcome would have been the Republicans did not control the House and the Senate and the presidency, that they control 2 out of 3. But
yeah.
yeah, no
Look,
gridlock right now.
it's crazy because you say 3 months, but in reality, it would be like 2 weeks where we have no new news for 2 weeks, and that would be enough to, I think, calm this market down because of the velocity of news releases that are coming out, multiple releases every single day. That like 2 weeks of silence, the market can price things in. But right now, I can't price shit in because every single day the norm changes.
Yeah, we can't even get 2 days without a tariff pivot. And
Yeah,
if it was like a pivot in that, like, oh, hey, we reached all these deals with these people, cool, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, there's like, guys, I'm not like saying Democrats are awesome. Like, I very rarely vote Democrat. Um, I tend to vote third party more often than not. I'm actually, registered as an independent. But yeah, there's issues. There's debt, and the trade deficit was very wide. There's a lot of regulation issues. I like Doge a lot. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. It's self-induced. That's my thing. Is it's self-induced. It's chaotic. We don't know the actual strategy because there's a bunch of conflicting goals that they've said, and that changes every single day. We don't know the targets. We don't know the timeline. Businesses cannot operate in that environment. I mean, they can do what they're doing right now, but they're going to hold off on anything risky. They'll even probably pull back on some things. We may see some job cuts because of this, Tevis.
we can. Yeah, for sure we can. Absolutely. Do you remember, Roy, when our biggest concern with regards to Trump policies was like the Gaza Riviera? And now now the world seems very different, man. I don't know. It's a crazy place.
Yeah, honestly, my number one concern the whole time was tariffs.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of history. I'm not a historian. I've seen how damaging tariffs can be. They're not always, if done very selectively and carefully. That's not what's happening. And I was hoping maybe it's just all a negotiation tactic, or it'll be like tariffs, Trump's first administration. That's not what we're getting. And it could end up very well, but if this continues long enough, there's real long-term damage that doesn't instantly just bounce back. We're still in that time where it can, but if we're like a quarter into this, if we're like 3 or 4 months down the road and this is still going on, that's not good for anybody. That's not good for any business. There are businesses that are more resilient. And is there anything that you're holding in this environment, Tevis, where you're like, hey, this feels really safe no matter what policy is like tomorrow?
No. And like, this is what I was trying to say in the beginning. It's like, no, I don't feel safe in anything, man. Trump can literally have an argument with Anthony Noto and come out and say, we're going to ban SoFi. We're going to take away their banking charter. Like, nothing I hold is safe because look what's happening right now to Nvidia. Right. And there's a use case for that. It's kind of different, Tevis. It's not apples to apples. I get all those cases. My point is if you have somebody with uncontrolled power that can target all of your businesses, there will come a time where like there's no frameworks to sort of stop you from that. It's sort of a silly argument to make, but the fact that we even have to make it just speaks to how crazy the situation is with regards to Nvidia right now.
Yeah. And Heinz put like Walmart and Costco safe, maybe. I mean,
Sure.
like as a business, as a stock, they're actually pretty elevated. Walmart was attractive a few years ago. I didn't invest, but I was like, hey, this looks really interesting. It turned out that way. Robinhood, Joshua is saying, is a safe haven asset in the 20s. Oh, in the 20s. Yeah. They're like half cash at that point. So long term, not short term. Like things can go to the point where Mr. Big 04 said it at 840, doesn't a low stock price just allow more buybacks for PayPal? It does. Problem is,
That's like all the purchases of PayPal. Like everybody who bought PayPal today is basically the company just buying back shares.
Yeah, I mean, like if things get really crazy and PayPal's trading in like the 40s, which would be ridiculous. It's already ridiculous. They have allocated basically half of their market cap to be bought back in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, crazy.
Oh,
It
man.
also sucks as a shareholder. Like long term, good, but the reality is like tariffs are so noisy that we saw this is a few weeks ago where the not trade commissioner, I've got the title wrong, but there's a very important trade person in the EU that had said, hey, we can actually levy individual tariffs or fees against Google and against PayPal and companies like that that are American that are usually very hard to tariff. And so it's like, oh, I was thinking PayPal is relatively immune from tariffs, hurt a little bit, but not too badly too. Like, oh, if that's how they actually play and they target individual companies for some reason, that's not great. And the crazy thing is PayPal and Google really sold off that day, like 5.5%, which doesn't seem like that much. But yeah, IBKR, by the way, they reported earnings, so that's one of the reasons why they're down a fair bit. They didn't have as good of a quarter as they expected, or as many expected.
Oh man. Anyways, I don't really even look at stocks that much today. I was working from home today, so I had it open on one screen, like from time to time. But normally, I just look at it at 9:30, and then I look at it at 4 or 5, and that's it.
You know, it's really depressing.
What?
You remember the theory? Let me make sure I got the right one up. The theory that was floated out there that this is all just to create the 10-year to fall for a lot of reasons: U.S. debt, refinancing for businesses, and also the 10-year is very much correlated to the 30-year mortgages.
Sure.
Well, yeah, that's not going great. It is down year to date, just because it spiked in January, but for a little while, it looked like we did get a 3 handle actually temporarily. We didn't close out with one, and we're now here at 4.32%. You look at mortgage rates, they don't look like that they're following this at all, and so we're back at 7.5% for average 30-year fixed mortgage rates in the United States, which is just death to the real estate market, which is a big part of our economy. It's been very slow. Last year is very slow. I was hoping that the silver lining of all this chaos was, hey, this will continue to fall and maybe we'll get some really good refinance action for SoFi. It'll unlock the real estate market. That's a good thing. Looks like we're not going to get that either.
Yeah, I mean, let's put a pin in the 10-year and let's check back in a couple of days because, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, dude, I don't know. It's a weird place. I keep telling myself like, oh, it's going to be short term. Like, I'm not really worried about it. It's kind of weird seeing how many people around me are like really worried. And yeah, maybe I've just been like desensitized a little bit over the years with regards to the market volatility. But I don't know.
Joshua did mention something. Be like Tevis, look away for 10 times. Yeah, that's a good thing to do, honestly.
Dude, I'm not looking away because I'm zen and I'm stoic. I'm looking away because I'm freaking busy doing other stuff, like my actual job. But what did Joshua mention?
He said not to mention they're gutting the IRS. Bond vigilantes won't like that. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the bond market. But it reminded me of some other Palantir related news. Have you been keeping an eye on Palantir as a stock?
No.
Tell me where you think it is, Tevis.
85.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, go ahead and throw this up. So yeah, we hit close to 100 today, up 6.24%. Look over the last 5 days, 26% over the last month. It did bottom here at like 74. It actually went, I think 68 or something in one of the pre or post markets. But a lot of this, I mean, there's speculation. There's a lot of things happening here too. But there's Joshua's comment reminded me of a couple of things. So one is there was this Wired article that came out. I believe it might have been Friday or possibly Thursday of this last week. Is since we've done it was actually after we did Bootleg, but it had said that Palantir employees were working hand in hand with IRS employees, and they were basically helping them develop an API that would work and actually be able to function with modern technology. The IRS website, guys, and like put in the comments if you filed today. By the way, today's the deadline in the United States. I filed an extension, so yay. Yeah, there we go. That's exactly what I'm doing. It's been a painful hold for sure, but not Palantir. Palantir's been great. IRS technology is so bad on so many levels, and I ended up trying to file an extension earlier this week, and I couldn't just because it kept telling me, well, I'd submit it, and then it would bounce back in like 30 minutes and say, hey, there's an error. You have to go back. And so I fixed everything, resubmitted, did that like 6 times. And the error turned out that supposedly I already filed an extension. I did like a couple of years ago. So I had to go to the post office and physically mail a certified mail document so that way I don't get in trouble for being late on my taxes. So yeah, their website is just, it's like, oh my goodness. So good news for Palantir. It's something that many of us Palantir shareholders expected and thought would happen is that Doge would instigate Palantir working with a lot more of government instead of the other way around. And they also came out with there was a headline early this week. I believe it was Monday. It might have been, yeah, it would have been Monday, that NATO has actually tasked Palantir for one of their projects that they need. And the interesting thing was they went from basically bidding to accepting Palantir very quickly. And then they plan to launch what Palantir is developing for NATO within 6 months. And that's just like almost unheard of in government work. So this is an environment where the one company that I hold, and not the stock itself, like the stock in this uncertain environment, it's not going to stay at 96. I'm not buying it here. I'm selling covered calls. I sold 110s out of caution. So I got like $40 or something. It was trading at like 90 at the time. I'm like, you want to give me $40? It's not getting to 110, sure. But in this environment, the stock may be punished, but I have a hard time seeing Palantir not do very, very well because they thrive in chaos. They help companies handle supply chains very, very well. And they developed a product and they launched it late last year called Warp Speed, which basically was exactly for this kind of environment. If there was companies coming from internationally that wanted to reshore or for the first time enter the United States as far as a manufacturing place, they help you do that exactly here in the United States. It's basically an operating system for your entire business built on their platform. I was looking for the word. I'm like, what is the word? So I think they'll be fine as a business. There's a lot of businesses that'll be fine. SoFi is actually pretty resilient here unless we actually hit a recession, in which case we'll have to see how those loan vintages do and what they'll do is actually as far as lending. But the stocks will get killed. Yeah, Robinhood, it'll be fine-ish, but it'll get killed.
Well, I mean, you have some anti-fragile type businesses in your portfolio that thrive in chaos. I mean, I think Palantir is obviously the easy one to pick through, but like even Robinhood that benefits from volatility in the markets. I mean, SoFi is not really, it's pretty insulated from the tariffs. Again, like we'll have to see what the actual earnings come to because we have earnings over the next 3 weeks or so where everybody is expected to just give some insight of what they're seeing on the ground floor. And that I think is going to really give the market more information that it so desperately needs right now because it's just full of uncertainty. And I'm not expecting much in the way of guidance, but I am expecting more in like what these CEOs think when analysts ask them, about their business, right? I do think that this is something, if prolonged over the next 6 to 12 months, can turn into another like K-shaped recovery like COVID was, right? Like for as long as this goes on, then investors are more and more going to think around what are tariff exposed stocks versus what are tariff insulated stocks, and account for that in their investing decisions of where they want to allocate their new funds. And the window of time of people's patience that this is just a fleeting negotiating tactic, I think is dwindling. There was several weeks maybe where people were like, oh no, he's just using it for negotiation. None of it is going to, come to fruition in the underlying businesses. The actual people are not going to get affected, whatever. And now it's been more than a few weeks and it's getting escalated. And now people are like, oh, thank God there's a 90-day pause. And, they're hopeful that they're going to find some resolutions in that pause and it's still a negotiating tactic. But for as more time passes, next month, next 2 months, and this is still the case, like people are going to start accounting for tariffs in their decisions, and that could lead to a very much K-shaped recovery because they're like, okay, well, I'm ruling out the possibility that this is just a negotiating tactic. I have to brace for impact for having this for the next several years when adjusting my portfolio.
Yeah, nobody is safe and nothing is safe. There's some things that are safer than others, but take the comment right before that. Casey Dresselhaus. Can you explain why you think SoFi will have a stronger remaining year compared to Hood? I really think that we are going to hit a crypto winter. Crypto revenues aren't as significant as the Q4 revenue for Robinhood indicates. Usually they had just a banner time. Those are going to be down Q1. We know that already. If this continues and it continues into a crypto winter, that's going to dry up revenue pretty fast. They're still going to have good, okay year-over-year comps, but it's going to be nothing like the prior year. And so as a result, I think that I think we'll see things like what happened with IBKR, where they had a slowdown on several of their lines. I haven't looked through the full thing, just the headline stuff. And as a result, they got hit, down 5%. Robinhood probably will. I mean, it's very volatile anyway, but SoFi likely will outperform as long as we avoid a recession. It's a question of which will do worse, not better at that point. So hopefully we don't get a real recession of those. I actually am going to pull up, since we're talking about public companies that are brokerages. You invest in any Webull, Tevis?
I did not. That's the Kangaroo part of the Kangaroo market is Webull.
Let me pull that up here. It's new enough, just IPO'd, that it doesn't show up in Google when you search for it. So here is Webull. So it's currently trading at 40.90, down 35% this week. So far, it had a high of 77.75, which is pretty remarkable because it IPO'd, I believe, at $14. It might have been $15, but significantly, I thought it's probably a little bit low. Webull is a company, by the way, they don't make money. They have revenue, but they're not EPS profitable or anything like that. They're fundamentally a much worse company than Robinhood. That doesn't mean that they're uninvestable by any means. It was really funny because up here, you're always going to get this where people are like, oh, it's just going to keep going higher forever. 39 or 79.56 right there. It ended up, people are like, hey, it's going to hit 100. It's going to hit 150. It's way better than Robinhood. I'm like, dude, this should not have a market cap. At this point, it was basically close to Robinhood's market cap. I'm like, come on. One of the challenging things, though, I don't short companies anyway, but it's really tough to short a company right out of the gates, and you can't buy puts because there's no options chain. So I think people just took their profits and realized, like, hey, it's kind of crazy, especially in this kind of a macro environment. It can fall a lot more too, but I thought that was pretty wild just seeing that price action.
Yeah, insane price action. Like there are just irregularities in the market with Newsmax and with Webull and all of these new IPOs. It's just kind of weird. I would expect it if we were in January, February, but I'm shocked that it's happening now in April. And
Yeah.
it's like completely different cohorts of investors, because I struggle to believe that the ones who are YOLOing on Webull are also the same ones who own Nvidia right now.
I mean, maybe, but we'll see. Like,
Maybe.
and that's one of the things is like Nvidia is one of the most owned names in Robinhood. Tesla as well. Like large cap tech, it's owned all over the place. Yeah, Newsmax is still up from its initial IPO, but man, what a wild ride for these. So I'm hopeful that we'll continue to get IPOs, but in this kind of environment, we saw Klarna take their IPO off the table, or at least put it on pause, rather. We'll have to see if that continues. Uncertainty is not good.
Yeah.
One thing is certain, though. I might take a small speculative position in whatever is the next big IPO. It just seems like that those things are flying.
It's probably not a bad move, honestly. If you have the money, then go for it.
I got the cash.
I'm taking a small position on Golden State tonight, so to each their own.
Yeah. I mean, like at this point, it feels less risky to invest in Robinhood Advantage contracts than the stocks.
That's true. That's true. It's like, do I believe that Nvidia can increase without Trump breathing over their shoulder, or do I believe Steph can hit 4 threes tonight? Like, hey, to each their own. We are we are now almost at the hour mark. You guys throw in your questions, and we will try to get to as many of them as we possibly can.
Let's talk one thing Tesla first before we get in that, and we run the ad too.
Yes.
So Tesla posted one day. Defense of a dispense. One day it'll drive itself right to your house, and Elon said this year. Do you think?
Did I send you this?
What's that?
Did I send you this post?
No, I sent it to you.
Okay. Yeah. No, this is great. I'm glad you brought this up, because I would have forgotten, and I would have remembered like 2 hours from now. Is this just Elon time, or is it?
I think so.
Well, the thing that makes me think it's Elon time is just that it's not up to them, man. It's up to regulators. Like, how? Maybe I'm wrong, right? But like, if I buy a car here in Canada, it's not going to be driving to my house. There's no way it's going to be allowed for this random driverless car to be, driving down the highway all the way to my house. In some states, maybe, like, sure, if that's like, oh yeah, if you live in California, and if you live in Texas, or if you live in Florida or whatever, like, sure, yes, this year. But I don't think you can make a broad sweeping statement like that when it's something that's blocked on regulators. And yes, I do understand the irony, because he says this year every year.
Yeah, Elon time this year means within the next 3 years, in which case I agree. Some will be delivering themselves within the next 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, like, the reason I say it's regulators this time around is because it was Elon time for the last 7 years, but now they're finally getting like close, like to the point where they're going to have in June the FSD in California and also in Texas, right? So that's as close as you can possibly get, and now the only hurdle left is the regulatory approval.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some technology issues too and logistics issues, but a lot of it is regulator. I don't think that they're ready for that yet. They probably have to successfully pilot first the technology in Austin, in San Francisco, in Las Vegas, wherever else they may do it over the next couple of years. And at that point, then in select areas, I could see it. If you live in Austin and you order a Tesla, why not? If you live in Dallas, if you live in Houston, yay for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's run that ad.
Sure. Okay. Do we want to get to comments, or do we want to talk about Tesla a little bit more? Um, what do you think? I mean,
So
let me go through our.
impact. What do you think the impact is on Tesla? Because there's been some discussion on that too with tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's like it's the same impact like as Nvidia chips or iPhones or any other mass-produced hardware product that goes to global markets. Um, I think Tesla is in a weirder position because it'll get preferential treatment from Trump, but it'll also, as a result of that association, get extra hate from everybody else. So it's like a proxy tariff or a quasi tariff. Trump is never going to tariff it, but the EU will tariff the hell out of it because of their association with Trump. So it's like it's a
Okay.
moot point. Like you're still going to get the freaking tariff on Tesla anyways. It's just a different party doing it.
And I get that a lot of their parts are made in the United States, but there will be some impact on Tesla for
Mhm.
sure. It's it's so tough. I'm very very curious to see how companies, if they'll follow United Airlines' lead and be like, hey, here's our guidance in the following two scenarios, which isn't now. Yeah, I might have to resort to that before long.
Yeah, sorry, I threw that up and like lost your train of thought.
The one thing about investing, guys, if most of what you're investing, if not all of it, if it's money that you don't realistically need in the next 5 years, like maybe you'd like it and you want to put it in a pool or something like that, or pay off your house or take your wife on a vacation, if it works out, great. But if you're investing with money that you don't need within the next 5 years, you can let things like this play out. If you are investing money where you're like, hey, I need this in 6 months, be very careful with that kind of investing. It can work out very well, but it can also, if you need it, if you're like, hey, I'm going to college and I'm going to use this to pay my education, or we have a baby that's coming and we need this money for X, Y, and Z, or I'm retiring in 6 months, be careful. Don't invest other than very, very conservatively with money that you need anytime soon. Because short term, like especially in this environment, but even if not, anything can happen short term. Over the next 5 years, I mean, we're going to probably be up from here for almost for every quality company or almost every quality company, and for the broad markets as well. There'll be some companies that are not, like Apple.
Absolutely. Tanner says, "How bad does $110 average Nvidia sound right about now?" Well, Tanner, what I will say to you, sir, is Nvidia was at $86 just 1 week ago. So $110 average doesn't sound all that bad in the grand scheme of things. Like, yeah, you're going to lose some money, but if you've never been down 10% before in a stock, you haven't been in the market long enough because that was just you basically had that in the Nasdaq last week. So I think you'll be fine, Tanner.
I see some really good questions, by the way, and looking forward to getting into those. Tevis, can you throw this up while you're tagging more? This is probably the last tweet that I'll pull up, but unless there's something to respond to in the comments there. Brad Freeman, by the way, if you're on X and you don't follow Brad, I don't know what you're doing. He is great. Don't always agree with him. He doesn't see it with him, but that's okay. But he says he gives us a recap. Semis are exempt from tariffs. No, wait, only temporarily exempt. Actually, they're being reclassified, just a new bucket. Should happen in a few months, or I mean weeks. Also, more restrictions on Nvidia. Try to keep up. It's chaos. Yeah, exactly. Pain pal
So much
makes you
pain.
immune from gains and also pain.
So so much pain. Oh man, this was it hurt me to read this. Uh okay, let's see. All right. Well, we can start with some questions and then let's see how far we go. First question, I think this was a good one. Do you think companies will now report earnings with two guidance numbers, one with a recession and one normal guidance like United did today? Roy, you want to go first?
I'm not really confident. I think that there will be some of that, which is a little unusual, and I think that there will also be some that just say we're just not going to do guidance right now, guys. And I don't think anybody will blame them. Now, they still do need to talk about pretty much every company at this point, even if they're not really impacted by tariffs. Like just saying that, like, yeah, tariff stuff, don't know how it'll shake out, but we're fine either way. Great. Investors will love to hear that. But I think that there will be a lot of people that, even if they don't do full guidance, they'll say, okay, if the tariffs that we saw at Liberation Day land, this is what we're looking at. We have contingency plans to do X, Y, and Z. The more information investors tend to have, the better. Even if it's not great news, it's better to know that up front than just be surprised and red pilled later. What do you think, Tevis?
Yeah, I think the more likely possibility is that they don't provide guidance at all, as opposed to two guidance numbers. I think with two guidance numbers, it would confuse the market even more, quite frankly. If they don't provide guidance at all, I think everybody would be or a lot of people would be understanding to that. Of course, companies would take a hit, but they're going to take a hit either way if they lower their guidance. So they're better off just not providing any guidance numbers at all and seeing how far this tariff situation gets them. Like, I think two guidance numbers is just like you're signing yourself up for more unwanted questions, unwanted scrutiny, and more possible like dissatisfaction from investors down the line.
And yeah, kudos to companies that don't do guidance at all. There are a few of them out there. The only one I own of those is Robinhood. But it's like same old, same old.
Yeah, and this is the rare times where you are happy as a SoFi shareholder because they already sandbagged their guidance. They already account for every year is a tariff year, baby. When you're investing in SoFi, if you were to look at the guidance.
Oh, so, yeah. They're like, hey, this is the best time in the last 7 years. Fintech spring. Yeah, baby. Recession, 1.5 rate cuts. Yep. Things are going to be terrible. Like, what? Wait. What? No. Yeah, I don't know. Like, we'll see. I'm still skeptical about recession, but the odds are definitely up. Goldman Sachs, when they reported, they mentioned that too. And I know Noto is a Goldman Sachs guy. They said the odds of recession have increased. And they have. I don't think it's base case yet, but maybe like a 15%, 20% chance, which is shocking. Like a real recession.
Breaking news. If this is fake breaking news, you're getting banned. Breaking news, China retaliates against the United States, suspends all postal services for goods shipped from Hong Kong to the U.S.
I'm skeptical on that. I don't think that there's no way.
All right.
No, they did suspend the rare earth shipments and deliveries. The United States did briefly suspend things from China too back in February. I forgot about that. And that lasted like 2 minutes. Yeah, I don't see it. I think it's not right, not correct news, but I could be wrong.
Cyber Ninja.
It's real spicy, says. Throw a link, guys, if you see it. Yeah, B-Dub says we are in one, Roy, as far as recession. There are people that think that. Like that's the thing is when the indicators come out, 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, and also really like weakness in the workforce. Oh my goodness.
Cyber Ninja, you are forgiven. Hong Kong announces suspension of postal service for goods heading to the United States effective April 16th. Today or tomorrow. Or maybe today in their time zone. Tanner, we started with Nvidia. That was like the first 30 minutes of our conversation. Yeah, when does a trade war become a trade embargo? Oh, baby.
Well, since Tanner's here, let's talk about one other thing.
Tanner's late again.
Yeah. So we did on SoFi Weekly, instead of doing the after hours, we just went right into it and we did it live.
Tanner, want to just jump on?
Yeah, we
Do
can
we
bring him
want to
on.
invite him? Do we?
We got to go through the questions too.
Yeah.
But Polymarket actually has betting odds
Actually,
on which is going to be the top model for LLMs by second half 2025. And Gemini has overtaken OpenAI.
we have to get Tanner on here. He can't like he has to be afforded the right to represent himself in this, in this debate. Um, yeah, Cyber Ninja, all is forgiven. Thank you for the breaking news. Appreciate you very much.
That's really shocking, honestly. What is the market doing right now?
Gold has hit an all-time high, $3,267.
Always a good sign, right? Gold and equities pump in the same direction.
Are you guys tired of winning?
It can. Yep, negative 0.885%. So not even down 1% yet in the S&P 500. Nasdaq's probably 1.5. Okay, it's hit a little bit more, a little tech heavier. Nvidia is, and I'm not showing this intentionally, guys, because it's more
I mean,
that's actually genius, Tevis. If I need something, you got my back.
I'm probably gonna get arrested from this comment, but like from China, it's probably coming express, baby.
Nvidia is down $7 now. It's down almost 6.5%, down to 104.99.
Look at this comment, Roy. How do you make an account that fast, man? Holy crap. The news has been out for like a minute.
I'm wondering if those kind of accounts are just like one person or like a couple. So yeah, SoFi is down 2.5% too. So it's actually not as bad as I expected. But yeah, Spicy B says, I don't think the market will go down heavily until unemployment hits. Right now, a lot of people are still buying dip. That's true. There is a lot of dip buying. Him's holding at 28.50.
Oh my gosh.
And pharma tariffs are supposed to come either late this week or next week. They keep shifting when that'll hit.
Dude, this is like the unofficial therapy session for the 200 plus people that are watching. You come here, you cry, you laugh. Yeah, circuit breaker tomorrow. Tanner's about to jump on. Market's going to hit new lows. Oh, man. Yeah, Postal Service was waiting for his time to shine.
It does feel like this is just my guess, is that we could go a little bit lower. I don't know much lower. I don't think that we'll have a prolonged gold market. Maybe gold market. I just read Toxic Alchemist comment. Transitory, yes.
Literally in my chat, dude. Okay, hold on. Go to the chat. I'm sending the StreamYard link there.
Can you teach him how to use this computer?
Seriously. The guy's had a bad day. We'll let him have this one.
Oh, so I'll copy that too, so you'll see it. You don't even have to go to his stream.
What the? What? Let's see what.
So Sanjay H71 on the same front, been hearing U.S. tourists saying they're Canadian, saves time having to explain what happened. That's been the case for like 20-something years.
U.S. tourists have been doing that. Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time. Less so recently, but it's not a new thing. Tanner, welcome.
What's up?
You look disheveled. You look like you've been crying a little bit. Are those bags in your eyes?
Yeah, no, I had a hoodie on. I was just wearing a hoodie, so I just took it off, so my hair's all messed up. But
yeah.
Are you still marking questions, Tevis?
I can. Yeah. Is there anything you want me to mark?
So James Moore's comment is a little while ago. We watch you guys. Who, if anyone, do you guys listen to and trust for your input? I think that's a good question of his. Right before we talked about getting Tevis or Tanner online.
Okay. I listen to Roy.
I'll find it.
Well, I listen to you, Tanner, so that's not good.
It's an echo chamber.
I find Tom Lee like very useful. I know people accuse him of being a permabull. He's not. But what's really good and effective, I think, is if somebody is he is close to a Pro Bowl. When they get bearish, it's time to really, really listen closely. So, and that has happened with Tom Lee before. That's a good indicator. There's some people that are on my feed and X, and I won't even name the accounts, where I probably disagree with about 75% of their takes, but I think they're very reasonable. Well, I'll say one of them. So, the long investor, he has some really good takes. He has some really bad takes. He's a very different style of investing. And the reason why him and probably another like dozen or so accounts that are major that I listen to, even though I disagree with them, I don't want to be in the echo chamber. And there's things that I'm going to be having blind spots towards that they will see and see readily. Joseph Carlson, yeah, I have some differences of opinion with him. He has a different style of investing. He loves Costco way too much, and hates Palantir, not really, but
what was I gonna say? Okay, I'll place a wager with you guys. What is the over under on the next Ackman tweet? Like Ackman saying the sky is falling, uh, tagging Trump directly, saying something wild. Like the next, what is over under? Like 1.5 weeks? Is that too generous of a margin? Because I think we're close. I think we're close.
I think that's fine.
I really don't follow a lot of his tweets. I know that everyone does, and it's become a fun indicator, but I have no clue. You know,
it is. Hold on, maybe I can find it.
Dude, okay. One, can we quickly just bring up that tweet where you said Gemini is overtaking OpenAI? Literally, look at the chart. OpenAI is at the top of the list. I don't care what that dude wrote for the article. Literally, OpenAI has the highest percentages. Not this tweet.
It is pretty funny, though. Ackman is somebody else that I'll follow for some reason. Yeah, this is just probably market odds.
OpenAI has the highest odds, 34%.
Yeah, Tanner, but like look at those sharp spikes, dude. Like those sharp spikes are not a healthy thing. It's because
these are people's predictions. I don't care. I think that OpenAI has an extreme advantage.
Sure, but the predictions are based on reality, right? Like they're based on what's the underlying. Like they're not just throwing a dart at a dartboard. Because you can use that same argument to say, "Oh, well, just these are people's predictions. OpenAI is actually at the bottom." You know?
Yeah.
So the sharp spikes is worrisome because every time they come out with a new version or a new build, the rankings change all the freaking time.
Yeah. I think by what was it, June 30th? Is that when it was?
June 30th. Yep.
Yeah.
So
it depends on whenever GPT-5 gets released, even though that'll be. It depends on what they mean. Like if they're just talking about reasoning models, then
here, let me throw it up because it is pretty funny. I do think that this kind of contract can be, if its contracts can be predictive in some ways, I think it's very effective in polling as far as who you're going to vote for. But this kind of thing, like you can see where DeepSeek was, back on closer to DeepSeek day. And people are like, oh, wow, it's such a good model. And now XAI has moved. And then for a while, XAI, because Grok was really good. And it is really good. I use it actually quite a bit. It's my second favorite. It's kind of tapered off. So it's noise, but it's still very open-ended. It's a commodity. So,
yeah. Did you guys see the OpenAI social media rumors?
Yes. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. We should. Do you know about that, Tevis?
Media? No.
So one of those things that we talked about where OpenAI is disadvantaged is that they don't have ready access unless they steal it, which they've totally been doing, skimming the data from social media websites. So their solution to that appears, rather than partner with Reddit for some reason, which should be obvious and easy to do, they're like, why don't we create our own social media website?
Yeah, and who knows how that's going to go, but I'm
Probably
pretty sure
not
they were
well.
also rumored to be building a smartphone. I don't know what's been happening with that or if that's still ongoing.
What
OpenAI is?
Yeah. What is this timeline?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't
Was
know,
no.
but I also think they have more funding than any private company ever. Like, so they're just going after everything.
Yeah, I think that's sloppy.
Here, let me see. What was the original thing that you guys invited me up here?
Nvidia.
Okay. What can I share my opinions on?
Nvidia.
Okay, well, this policy is dumb. Like,
Okay.
I think it's super bad. I think that they should have gone the other direction. I think that the entire Hopper platform should have been opened up to China, if not Blackwell as well. But if you don't want to go too extreme, just the entire Hopper platform, and say, hey, you know what, you can buy from U.S. companies, and then that will almost make Chinese companies more reliant on U.S. chip manufacturers. I like that idea. What I don't like is you pushing China into a corner and saying, hey, you're going to have no way of furthering out your goals of artificial intelligence, not with our help. And we're going to continue to make it harder and harder and harder to get any sort of useful chips at all. What I think that does is potentially furthers conflicts of them potentially going towards Taiwan. I think that this potentially furthers them putting more dollars, government dollars, towards Huawei to further their custom silicon. I think that this is exactly what happened with DeepSeek, because they didn't have access to great chips, that they had to look at the problem of artificial intelligence completely different. And that spooked the whole world, making people think like, oh, their lack of access to modern super chips is going to put them in second place. And then DeepSeek came out of nowhere and they completely rethought it from first principles. I think that if they got regular access like the rest of everyone else, they wouldn't think so hardly on trying to solve a problem for a 10% benefit, because the cost would be many, many multiples to get there.
Yeah, as countries and especially as companies, you don't try to solve already solved problems.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the reasons why I really liked PayPal's Investor Day, by the way. But I agree with you completely. Now, there was an interesting theory that was floated by somebody in Tevis's comments, and I don't remember who it was, and Tevis agreed with it, and I thought it was very interesting too. We've seen the art of the walk back a number of times. We've seen that with Liberation Day. We've seen that with, for instance, the tariffs that would have impacted Apple very severely get walked back almost immediately as well. We've seen that a lot with this administration. So I'm curious if you think that this will be walked back at some point relatively soon. And if so, are you buying the dip?
Yeah. Well, buying this dip, yeah, like whenever I get money, I'm always going to continue to buy Nvidia. I want to get this to 50%. So yeah, I'm going to be buying. What I hope this actually does is brings the stock down even more. That risks potentially get baked into the stock, that I can get it, more shares for the same amount of dollars.
Now that you answered that, can you answer this? Why put 50% into something with this much risk, geopolitical risk?
I mean, the majority of their money is still made here on U.S. soil, so I'm not too worried about the revenue that they make from China.
I think he might be referring to Taiwan. I agree with you that this isolating China is going to ratchet up tensions, and it may be like, if they become desperate, just mean an invasion.
Yeah, I think that TSM makes chips for many, 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 many customers. Okay, they are huge, absolutely huge, and whenever you're talking about Nvidia themselves, they're their largest customer. Nvidia is TSM's largest customer. So if it comes down to it, where the only fabs that are available are the ones in Arizona, I think that TSM is going to serve one customer. That's Nvidia. You're going to make your biggest customer happiest, and everyone else is going to be on massive delays. So I actually think Nvidia has quite the moat here in terms of their supply chain over everyone else. Now, I'm going to bet on the military that is definitely the largest, and that is America's. So well, I also make those potential risks of invading Taiwan. I also don't think that they would do that because, you know, no one has the capabilities of sending a country into 1,000 years of darkness more than the United States. I don't think that you want to go against them. So, yeah.
That is a wild statement to make.
In a hot war?
Yeah, no, I mean, just a
There's
wild.
not another country that has dropped multiple nuclear bombs on cities. I mean, who else has done that?
I don't disagree with that part. I am saying it's a wild take to make in 2025 that it becomes this pissing contest, essentially. Like the fact that for it to go to that point, like everybody loses.
Well, I'm not saying that this trade war goes to that point. What I'm saying is that they have been threatening to take over Taiwan, and they can say it's for, I don't know, historical reasons. But if a part of that is also because part of supposedly there was leaked documents or whatever back whenever China originally proposed going into Taiwan, that they were like TSM was kind of exempt. Like, hey, don't hurt them. We're actually going to be taking over those. That's a big part of America's strategy for the future. I think that they are going to look at that as a very important asset. So
Tanner, listen to other Tanner. We're all screwed if it gets there.
yeah, but that's wars happen. But
Can I ask a really stupid question? And like, I genuinely don't know why this is the case. Like, what is proprietary about TSM that China can't replicate on mainland that would essentially negate their whole use case for invading Taiwan?
yeah, I don't even really have that answer for you. My understanding is what other people tell me, that they have a very good system that essentially no one's been able to replicate.
I know, but China has stolen intelligence in the past around different technologies. I'm sure that would probably be a more preferable route to go than literally invading a whole country, you know?
Yeah.
Did you see the postal service from Hong Kong update?
Yeah, I did just see that. Yeah. I don't know the gravity of that decision, but it's something I'm going to read about.
Well, Tevis, it's 8:30 or 9:30 your time. Inserting one more ad to buy the dip for Nvidia. Not really.
Are you guys on 30-minute timers now?
Well, the first one comes in an hour, and then after that, every 30 minutes. So
It's inversely correlated with the market. So the more we fall, the more ads you get.
Yeah.
Shall we go into some questions, gentlemen?
Yes.
Or what do we think?
question.
Your show, guys.
All right. So we already answered this. You can turn that off. Do you think pharma stocks like Lilly will be less affected? They have PH3 data for an oral GLP-1 coming out soon. I don't know, Roy, if you want to take that, I kind of just want to skip that.
Yeah, the tariffs are slightly bullish for HIMS. Of course, we don't know like the bulk ingredient. A lot of the bulk ingredients for a lot of pharmaceutical companies are sourced in China and also in India. So there is tariff risk. Prices will go up. In that environment, I don't know, and hopefully HIMS and other companies will say, hey, this is how we're impacted, this is what we're doing about it, or we may be impacted. But if you're looking at a product that's $69, which is HIMS oral solution, versus a product for GLP-1, if you're doing it without insurance, that's thousands of dollars, a 10% increase in price because bulk ingredients, APIs have gone up just because of tariffs, that hits disproportionately for those more expensive products. So as a result, HIMS will have even more of an edge for people that are like, you know what? I can't really just come out and afford, an extra $1,500. And I know there's some ways sometimes to get a little bit cheaper, but still nothing is as cheap as that oral solution out there other than some other competitors' products, but it has good traction. And so I don't know about Lilly itself. I think HIMS is less impacted than Lilly. And I would hope and think that a company as credible as Eli Lilly will come out and say exactly like what's sourced where and what their contingency plans are.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this in the past around Eli Lilly and Novo being foreign competitors and HIMS being in the US, which would naturally benefit HIMS. So that's why I just didn't want to dive deeper into that. They've been saying give SoFi 5 years for 3 years now. So is it 2 years now?
Say that one more time.
It's on the screen. We've been basically shouting from the rooftop, just give SoFi 5 years and they'll be fine. We've been saying
Yeah,
that for years.
I think the big year is 2025. This is the year.
I think so.
This is whenever we go fully onto Technisys. We'll have to see how that goes. The cost savings, the margin improvements there.
Yeah.
I think the last 3 years has led up to this year and beyond.
Perfect.
We're in it.
Speaking of, any plays for SoFi earnings coming up?
Yeah. Shitload of shares and holding.
So I will share a play with you. I have, and this is something I put on weeks ago, but I basically have covered calls for, I think it's like 17 or something, for May 2nd. So hopefully inverse Tevis comes true and we hit 17 and I get my shares called away, and I'll be really sad about that. But yeah, I wrote it on a whole bunch of shares and I got paid $1,000 to do it for 17 a month out, which I'm pretty happy with that. Like I'll take $1,000, and I think SoFi was at like 1250 or something when this happened, and now it's even lower than that. So that's pretty much my only earnings play. I might close those and write them even lower, but yeah, May 2nd, 2025, Sagig, like right after earnings, because earnings is on that Tuesday and this is expiring on that Friday. Roy, any specific SoFi earnings plays for you?
No.
Apple and Tesla is vulnerable to any China ban or embargo on those products, by John Chen.
Apple is disproportionately impacted. We saw that, both in the share price, which is like, frankly, was overdue. People were seeing Apple as a flight to safety, which is crazy in this environment. And then they realized how wrong they were. Now, some of that's been rectified by walking back what they were doing as far as tariffs that would have impacted Apple immensely. For Tesla, they are the most American-made car. Navarro is an idiot for saying otherwise. It was shocking that somebody in the administration would be that wrong and that wrong publicly. And like even people that don't like Tesla were like, I saw CNN defend Tesla and Elon Musk and say, "Hey, it's the most American car." Like it is. So the impact of like everything's impacted, but Tesla is not as impacted as you might think, other than potential retaliation.
Yeah, you could be. I don't remember the exact comment that Peter Navarro said, but maybe he's talking about sheer sales.
No, he said Elon Musk and Tesla are essentially car assemblers, not car makers. That they import all of their parts from overseas and they just assemble them in the United States to skirt regulation, which is not the case at all. It's idiocy.
Funny. Yeah,
that's what a lot of companies do. Although they used to do a lot of that, and then they're like, you know what? Why don't we just make them in Mexico? So,
but you know what? We do have the problem of retaliatory tariffs from China. What are they at now? 84%.
Yeah,
something like that. That makes Tesla cars quite expensive. I think about a little over 20% of their business is China.
I'm actually curious on that. I don't think that's accurate just because they manufacture in Shanghai. And so my understanding is they don't get hit by the tariffs at all simply because they're making them over there in mass and they actually export them.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I'll have to see how that works.
You're muted.
I'm muted?
To get dark, Roy. Sorry, I was muted.
What are we at for SoFi? Let's see. It's
The answer is yes.
1067. So yes, yeah, probably.
We watch you guys. This is the question you wanted, James Morris. I'm so behind. Like I have like 12.
Yeah,
bookmarks.
we answered that one. Good question. Liked it.
Cool. If we get deep slowdown or recession, then diversification is good, or just hold few stocks. Which one is better, in your opinion?
I'll go first. My play is to reduce the number of holdings in my portfolio and continue to do so. If everything that I own in my portfolio gets cut in half over the next 6 months, I'll probably own only like 4 companies at that point too. I'll just say, I've got stronger conviction in these companies. I'm going to go this direction. Like if Robinhood is trading at like $18, I'm going to own a lot more Robinhood and a lot less of Nubank, for instance.
Yeah. I'd say higher conviction in names that I really like, but then also I find during those times you find companies that are grossly oversold, and then you potentially end up picking up new positions because, well, they fall into an amazing valuation, like potentially Uber or the Trade Desk.
I would agree with that. I'm doing pretty much the same thing. Like I'm buying what I think at these prices is still cheap, that I know well. Usually that involves concentration. I don't really want to diversify unless it's like obvious. Like Nvidia is something that I want to buy. And I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks, even before Nvidia earnings, like last earnings. And I just haven't done it yet. But I think Nvidia is the exception. What is the expression? It's the exception, not the rule. No, something like that. But I want to concentrate is the through line that I'm trying to communicate. So I'm buying the main things that I've been holding because I'm still bullish on them. And so long as the fundamental company is still performing, then I don't really care what happens in the macro. Can you imagine if Nvidia relocates to China?
That won't happen.
I know it's tongue in cheek, but I wanted to bring it up because maybe we can start a little, just go around the horn around, is there a potential route for a lot of these US companies to completely go the other direction and move more away from the US as opposed to moving in-house to the US and having the policies be so unpredictable, restrictive, aggressive that it just turns a lot of these CEOs off completely? Or nah?
I don't think there's an alternative at this point. There may be in the future. No company can, unless they're very foolish, really. You can invest in, China as far as like building out a factory like Tesla, like Apple has. That's fine. If you actually are based there, then the CCP has all levers and all authority over you, and they can exercise a common prosperity tax over you at any point. They can abduct your CEO and do unspeakable things to him. They can tell you what to report for guidance or what to do for your business. No company is going to go. Now, are there other countries where they might be interested in? Yes, like Singapore would be a good option for a lot of companies, but it's a much smaller consumer base, and that makes things a challenge and difficult. No matter where you go, there's a lot of other excellent countries out there that are kind of in the same bucket where it's like, okay, for the people that are there and the direction this company is going, it's great for regulation, but unless you're just kind of doing a proxy headquarters like many companies in the United States do by saying, oh yeah, we're really in Ireland. Totally. Yeah. We're an Irish company now. If you're meaningfully moving your headquarters over there, there's no real alternative. There just isn't.
And then how does treatment from this current administration happen to your business? Like, I think Trump is one of these guys where if you offer him something, then he'll be preferential treatment the whole time, but the other way around than exactly what's happening to China right now. So good luck trying to move during these next 4 years because your company's going to have a bad time in America.
I don't disagree. What if Tesla saves the market with the announcement of Optimus mass delivery? Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, dude. Like, it's not happening. Elon time only works in one direction.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. When has he been early?
He was on time with the Model Y because
Not
of
on time. On time is on time.
Yeah, yeah.
But the other
But-
direction,
But
you
yeah,
know.
only like when it's built on the exact same lines is like, okay, you got that one. But yeah,
That'd be like if I was early.
yeah,
It's not going to happen.
no, we all know that.
TJ, with some great questions. Now that the landscape has changed, who is a better 2025 stock-wise, SoFi or PayPal? And I will pair this with this other question. Is it still 25 and 25? Or have we changed our stance?
Anything's definitely possible. 25 and 25 could definitely happen. Like, we're still in April. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stocks can turn around very quickly with better macro environments. A trade war stops. SoFi continues to grow. We could definitely see 25 and 25.
Well, I mean, just piggybacking on Tanner's comment, remember what happened last year in 2024? SoFi did 100% in a month.
Yeah.
Right? So, you could absolutely see 25 and 25 if and only if this macro environment is cleared up, and not really anything until that point. Roy, I'll let you have first stab at the PayPal question.
Yeah, SoFi in 2025 over PayPal, very easily. PayPal has some self-inflicted. It's the right thing to do, but self-inflicted wounds. They're going to cause a headwind to revenue. It's already happened over the last 2 quarters. It will happen at least through the first half, maybe a little bit into the second half as well. There's some unknowns there. Long-term, PayPal is in a great place. And if you were like saying 5 years out, that would be a harder question. I think PayPal actually at that point. But over this year, there's a very small scenario where PayPal would actually outperform SoFi. I do think it's hard to predict where things go because we don't know what kind of market we're in other than Kangaroo. But I still think that 25 and 25 for SoFi is not unlikely. I think it's more likely than not. That loan platform business and the massive tailwinds with macro, they're phenomenal for SoFi versus PayPal right now. It's the market needs to see what they're executing on, and then it'll believe. It's not going to happen until then, and that's the second half at earliest.
Cool.
I agree with you completely. SoFi over PayPal. Yeah, SoFi's in a good position. I think TJ also brought up SoFi versus Hood or something along those lines. Did he not?
Well, maybe we'll jump there. So he basically said, I watch SoFi weekly. I think you guys aren't as excited about SoFi anymore. And he asks, have you found that your interest in Hood has made SoFi less interesting or exciting to own overall? And that's a spicy one, I think, because now all three of us own Hood.
Yes, much more interested in Hood. I think it's a better company and better stock. It's less exciting to own SoFi, simply because
you didn't see all the Twitter comments the other day, did you?
Yeah, I mean, like Robinhood. I guess you'll have to fill me in, but they have phenomenal pace and execution. They're an interesting, exciting company, and I'm allocated equally to both, but it feels like it should be double allocation to Hood over SoFi. SoFi is good. It feels like it's a good company, not a great company necessarily. And really, the centerpiece for me was the tech platform. The tech platform itself, very disappointed in its execution, in its guidance, indicates the direction that it's going. Like, it exists, it's there. That's about the nicest thing I can say about it. The loan platform business is amazing, and it's why I'm still invested in SoFi, because that's a phenomenal product that lines up very well with this macro. Yeah.
Yes, I think the question of does Robinhood make SoFi less interesting this year? I don't know how you say no to that. Like, they've just been pushing out products, and I think a lot of SoFi investors, including the biggest diehards, the data-driven investings, the Tanner Mansons, the Roy before he just left, are we're hoping that SoFi was going to do that to banking and pushing out a bunch of products faster than other competitors. So I think it always sucks whenever someone comes in and is doing what you had hoped SoFi would have done. Now, does that mean that SoFi is in a bad position? No, but I just wish that they could do both. Like, I think sometimes people look at the loan platform business, they go, yeah, but they're focused on that. But it's like, okay, the people that they hired for financial services or the credit card are not going to go help out the loan platform. They work on the credit card. So every day they're still coming in for 8 hours. They're not on loo time while they're focused on the loan platform business. They're working on their own individual departments. So, like, I just don't accept some of those answers sometimes. That's all. What did Hood push out this year? The event contracts, all of the different changes to Legend, the credit card rollouts to multiple new people. What has SoFi rolled out this year? What?
So actually, on that, let me find.
No, because then we're gonna checking your savings doesn't come out for 6 more months. You can't bring up Cash Coach.
I was going to bring up Cash Coach because somebody asked about it. Thoughts on SoFi's Cash Coach that is apparently in beta. Oh, it was the same person. Ivan, Cash Coach was announced at a fireside chat in the fall, and it is now in beta. And it's been what, like 2 business quarters, 3 business quarters for it to finally make it to beta. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Robinhood, I know everyone likes to bring up this idea of like, oh, well, they help people gamble or something like this. It's like, are we, what does the stock market reward? Does it reward the most moral company, or does it reward the company that makes the most amount of profits at fast growth rates? Like, Robinhood is doing that. And you might not agree with how they're doing it, but that's fine. Their customers really do. And that's what I'm betting on. And you don't have to agree with that. I'm not trying to sell the stock on anyone, but like, also, I think that this weird thing that because I decided with my time to go out and make the, SoFi Weekly and talk about this company, that I'm not allowed to talk to anyone else, any other company without hurting people's feelings. It's like, I like multiple companies. SoFi is still a bigger stock than Robinhood in my portfolio.
Same, yeah. By a big amount.
Here. Yeah.
So I kind of want to, actually, Roy, I'll let you say your comment, but then I want to also pick up on what Tanner just said.
Well, there was one other comment, and maybe you have in the start thing, was like which outperforms this year. And I think there was a Robinhood versus SoFi, or why it was like way earlier. SoFi, I think, will probably outperform Robinhood this year. And the number one reason I think that is, I think that we're in for a crypto winter. And if so, those are going to hurt Robinhood. Maybe I've talked about this already in the stream. It's been almost 2-hour stream. But yeah, SoFi has a lot of tailwinds, and Robinhood, it'll be hurt.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up this comment, and I wanted to pair it with this question. I'm a better MC than Jake L. I'm sorry, I am. Investor Day would probably reinvigorate the investor base. And I wanted to pair it up with this question. Can you tell us why Noto isn't considering coming on SoFi Weekly? Why is he so much against it? Truly will appreciate an answer. Thanks. Look, we have talked about the communication. We have talked about the transparency. We have talked about the frequency of updates and how we want more of all of those 3 things. Quite frankly, I think personally, and I want to let the guys answer this too, but like personally, Sagig, I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't necessarily think it's going to align well with the SoFi brand. Like, have you been here for the last hour? Have you heard me say stupid things on this podcast? It's brand and reputational risk. Number 2, it's probably like regulatory / legal issues that they can and can't say, that they just don't want to take that on. But that's also kind of a cop-out answer, because he has done random podcasts before. He did Kathy Wood's podcast. He did some like random YouTuber that has like 100 subscribers podcast. He's met with Jonah Lupton. Like, there's so many people that he has done before. So I don't know about the second one. I would say then first is the brand. Like it's just an association of what we represent. Maybe we're too opinionated, let's say fair, with how we express ourselves, or maybe it's too unstructured. And maybe they just don't want to be really affiliated with that, with our message, with our branding, with the fact that all of a sudden Tanner can buy Robinhood and Roy can buy Robinhood and Tevis can buy Robinhood and these guys can be invited to a Robinhood event. And now it's like this whole thing. Imagine if SoFi was sponsoring this podcast or if Anthony Notas come on. It's like, it's bad. It's a bad look. And for us as content creators, it doesn't allow us the full range of mobility to express ourselves however we want to. Of course, I would absolutely sacrifice that to have Anthony Noto on the podcast, but you got to understand the perspective that he's coming at it from, that it's not as clear cut as it may seem. I don't know, guys. What do you think?
I think a lot of the things that you just said, a mix between brand risk and also just being a little bit too small to even care. I think I know that Jonah Lupton was either a Wharton or West Point grad, so they had that in common. So there's a little bit of mutual respect there. But, you know, there's a lot of brands that won't even go on Joe Rogan's podcast, and there's a lot to benefit from that. Now, imagine if they had, 20,000 subscribers rather than 20 million. The reward is not there for them. But it's more of just a small community and hoping for that. But honestly, I don't think they will. There's another. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the name
Of SoFi Weekly?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to break it here? Or, yeah, sure. I don't care.
Yeah, I can break it here. We might have to change, not out of want, but might have to change the name of the SoFi Weekly to not confuse viewers that we are somehow first party related to SoFi. And that's going to be across the board. Robinhood Weekly, we're not going to be able to name it Robinhood Weekly either.
Yeah.
Or SoFi or any of those other affiliated names, to not get confused, because lawyers aren't so happy. That's it. Legal teams. But it'll be some sort of name that will indicate that we're still talking about SoFi here, just potentially not the SoFi brand.
Yeah, I suggest the kind of like Prince did. He's an artist formerly known as Prince. We can the show formerly known as SoFi Weekly. No.
Oh man,
and it's not
SoFi Weekly.
Something like that.
Oh man, yeah, we get your money right weekly. We're gonna.
That's what it should be.
Yeah, I think that's
great.
it. DJ, thank you.
That's great, because it's still SoFi, but yeah.
Yeah, we can let the people vote. I'm fine with that. Except it's going to be like Bodie McBoatface is going to be like the winner, and then we're going to have to be stuck with that name.
No, it'll be out of our 4 selections, and then they can pick.
SoFi Weekly is now No Marketing Weekly. Oh my god, this is brutal. Lo-fi, I actually love that. Anyways,
Yeah, but then we're going to attract the wrong audience.
Yeah. Anyways, this is not a solutioning session, guys. We appreciate your enthusiasm, but yeah, we had this conversation internally between the 3 of us, and we just don't want to step on any toes, if that makes sense. From a brand perspective, we don't want to give people the wrong impression that we are, formally affiliated with SoFi. I think the people who have watched this podcast over the years know that fact very well, that we are not affiliated in any way, shape, or form. Nor in the past 4 years of running the SoFi Weekly have we ever received any type of payment. We barely receive any communication, quite frankly, let alone payment. So it is something that it wasn't our decision. But it is.
It'll probably be in the description as well, stuff saying that we, have no affiliation. We're doing this out of fun.
Yes, exactly.
Whose decision was this? Big companies.
Lawyers.
Yeah, literally. So, and it's not just SoFi; it's all of them. Yeah. All right. Well, that took a weird turn.
Opposite of a sponsorship deal.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of curious if that's, I don't know. Like it seems like it's all kind of hit all at once, and I'm wondering. I should have asked a bit if that's happening with Palantir Weekly. I don't know what other weeklies are out there, and I guess there's a hymns weekly that somebody's doing, but
What?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that's the way that it seems like it that kind of wave hit all at once. For a couple of years, people could do whatever weekly or
Sure.
the Robinhood weekly show or a retail show or whatever, like no problem. And now it's like, nope. I'm also curious, like I'm overdue for a PayPal monthly. I'm hoping to do one, excuse me, maybe a little bit later this week. But
You should rename it.
yeah, it's like, it's hard. Like, what do I do? Because it's about PayPal.
PayPal.
Yeah, just name it PayPal.
No, Pain Pal.
Pain Pal. There we go. Pain Pal monthly.
Honestly, and like, here's the thing, because people are coming up with creative names for us to have a SoFi podcast without having the name SoFi in it. And this is like me thinking out loud with the guys. I kind of want to have a neutral name, right? Like, I don't want to have that close of if there is a gray area, I want to be steer clear of that gray area altogether. Like, I know Tanner, we talked about like FinTech or Fridays or Finance Fridays or something like that. Like, I would rather have, I would rather have no affiliation weekly than I would have like social finance weekly or something like that. Honestly, because I don't want to make this decision. I don't want to make this change again in the future. Like, I don't want to have the situation.
Rotos.
Ivan said slowly abandoning SoFi. Not at all. And literally we worried whenever we broke this news that that's what it's going to seem like. But we got an email. We're following through with this email and we're not questioning it. Okay. So that's it. Stock talk with friends. There you go.
All right. I'm going to start a new topic because this is getting depressing. Tanner, the tariffs affect new?
I mean, I'm sure to some degree, but no, I wouldn't trade on it based on tariffs.
Only recession.
Show us the email.
I could
yeah, don't do that. Don't.
I haven't even seen the email yet, so.
You haven't seen the email?
No. Tanner, did you sell any Ford to buy more Nvidia?
No, I have not sold 4 yet.
How big do you think new can be in 10 years?
Well, I mean, I've answered this question. Potentially one of the largest financial institutions ever. Like massive. Hundreds of billions of dollars.
One of you can legally change your name to SoFi.
That's right.
That'll be Tevis.
Which one's going to do it, guys? Somebody has to bite the bullet here.
Well, my middle name does start with an A, so we could put those together and it's like Sophia.
Oh my god.
Let me find it. Where was it?
Dude,
we can just find some random person out there named Sophia, invite her, and just call it Sophia Weekly.
Tanner, don't actually throw that email up.
Well, can I read here? Can I read this? I'll send this in the private chat.
Yeah, you can read that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And recap who it's from.
I'm not going to say who it's from.
The company.
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to say who it's from.
Yeah. Just read that sentence and let's get on with the next question.
Our internal legal and compliance teams have identified some aspects of your show that could cause potential confusion for listeners and regulators about the nature of our relationship and or involvement in your show. So they want the name gone and any potential logo gone and also add in a disclaimer that this is being presented by a third party, that there's no direct affiliation, association, or sponsorship with any of the podcast owners or their related entities, and that formal company does not have any oversight or review of our shows. Because if they're getting in trouble from regulators being like, hey, why are your guys just going crazy pumping your stock? And they're like, those aren't our guys. Who knows?
And like, to be fair, like we encountered this, or you encountered this before, and actually data driven as well, where they've been accused of by institutions and analysts that you're paid by SoFi, or that SoFi
Exactly.
pays people to pump their stock, which if they are, they're not pumping us or paying us. And I don't find that credible at all. Like, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But I think things like this, companies' legal teams take seriously. So I'm not blaming any companies that are saying, hey, this needs to happen. Like, I don't think that they take that lightly, or they even like to do this, but they realize, like, hey, there needs to be more of a separation here.
Sure. Yeah. So that's all. All right. Let's
Can we continue?
Yeah, Nvidia.
Hold on, actually. So we answered this in a very long-winded way. Let me see what else I can put up that it can lighten the mood a little bit. Sure, we can answer this because we're still on the SoFi topic. Does Galileo land the top 5 bank this year?
Yes.
No.
Maybe.
No way.
Those are the options.
I don't see how a sales cycle goes from 12 months to 18 months to then 32 months?
Here's how it does, even without the SoFi being mediocre and tech platform being meh. Uncertainty.
Yep.
You thought I was going to have a long argument, right?
No, I agree with that.
Preamble was longer.
I agree with that. It was uncertainty that caused the delays in the first place. It
Yeah.
was rate hike uncertainties, and now it could be tariff uncertainties.
I mean, and we talked about it earlier, but like, that's the biggest thing, is it's not just uncertainty in the market, but for real businesses. Just how can you make long-term decisions in this environment? You can't.
Yeah.
We should check to see if Joby is outperforming PayPal year to date. I can definitely check that. Joby is currently down 27.5% year to date, and PayPal is currently down 28% year to date. So Joby is in fact outperforming PayPal. To give his thoughts, Roy.
I need to rename that to PayPal.
Yes.
We are number one.
Yes. Negative 27%, baby. Number one.
That's it. I'm just not going to be the one that falls the most. That's all.
Well, that's not even one of those that we're betting on. It's Hims that was my pick, remember? Which is doing still quite nicely.
Yeah, it's literally, PayPal is underperforming Joby by 0.5% year to date.
It's underperforming everything. It sucks.
If you're not first, you're last. And that's what I've always said. We're either first or fifth. Sadly, you know what? This is on Trump. If it wasn't for Trump putting tariffs on, Joby would be number one. Okay, we've all known this.
All right.
This is known.
Can you imagine an export ban from the Dutch government, EU, for ASML to the US? Yes, I can imagine it, Sanjay. I can imagine anything in this world that we live in.
See, I just can't imagine that stuff.
No?
No. That would be another, like Trump would be like, all right, war then. Like, I don't see how something like the Dutch government could have that much control on our entire chip manufacturing.
What do you
I'm
mean,
sure they
dude?
got pretty tight relationships.
So incredibly hypocritical for you to say that because like Trump literally did that exact same thing to Nvidia. You know, you're not going to sell to China. What do you think China's going to be like? All right,
It
war.
wasn't. It wasn't Trump. This has been going on since Obama, then Biden, then this has been a long time coming. Like there's always been restrictions on the types of chips that you can sell.
My point is, once you open up the playing field to introduce those types of restrictions, then you can't be surprised that they come back on the other side to bite you.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that more of these processes are brought to America, which is like what we announced today as well. These massive investments to America. It was setting up to be a very nice time for Nvidia until this little extra regulation, which I honestly don't even think is that big of a deal. Okay, I don't want to over make a problem about it because it's not.
Yeah.
But I just hate that it's the wrong direction, because what I really thought was going to happen is that this whole H20 situation was actually going to go the other direction. Like Hopper was going to open up. It sounded like Trump was on the other side of this argument. So I was just surprised to see it go that direction. That's what made my blood kind of boil. But overall, if this is a one-time expense, $5.5 billion, I mean, that's a lot to SoFi, but that's nothing. That's peanuts to Nvidia. Supposedly they did like $16 billion in Q1 for the H20s alone. 16 billion. That was like what they did last year for China. They did in Q1.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Next question.
Are we still allowed to say the word SoFi? Hold on. I had this thing that I bookmarked here. Actually, no, I don't even want to do that one. Let's close this. I'm new to investing, Charlie says, and I have a smaller portfolio and I'm still in college. Should I just need adding and not sell into these uncertain times?
Charlie, you're young. As long as you're investing money you don't need in the next 5 years, find companies that you think are quality companies and invest there. I would be super concentrated at your age too, around this core convictions. When I began investing, I was 13 years old, and times were great. And then we hit the .com bubble, and that really sucked.
No, you mean the Great Depression.
Great Depression.
When were you 13?
In the early 90s. So
we do have the ability to kick you, Tanner. Just so you know this.
All right, you know what? I'll mute myself. I'm sorry.
So, and then when I really got interested in investing again, I didn't sell anything. I just kept it there. Was in 2008, and we all know what happened then. Needless to say, I'm terrible at timing, as far as like when to really focus on things. COVID was the next time is when I actually began personally investing instead of just buying major indices and that sort of thing. And over the long term, the trajectory of the market, the S&P 500, maybe that you go that route. You just invest in the index. You're betting on America. I think that's a good bet over the next 10 years, as long as it's with money that you can afford to lose in the short term that you don't need.
Yeah, I think that's the best answer you could possibly get. Also, to change the topic, and I don't want to keep coming back to this, but like, dude, this is a stupid comment. Once SoFi goes to 30, these guys will be looking like fools for abandoning what made them famous. Don't turn your back on your bread and butter. Like, you missed the entire part where we said it's not our decision and we still hold all of our positions and we're not selling our shares.
Yeah. The largest stock in my portfolio is Nvidia. The company that's gotten the most views that I was covering on YouTube was Nvidia. So my second most viewed video is Nvidia. So I don't know what's made me famous, but these are the videos that you watch of me. But
actually, you had your recent video around like 5 stocks to buy was fairly agnostic. Like, you didn't show any logos or show any tickers, and like that video did amazing views. So
hell yeah. And you know what? come for the 5 stocks, stay for whenever I gave you 8.
Bonus stocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Gobi was not on there. Spoiler.
Jumping in the pool is what made you famous.
Honestly, okay, you know what? You're maybe right. But and famous is a funny word because doesn't feel like fame.
That was so long ago, man. It feels like so long ago. Ironically, SoFi was probably like the same price when that happened.
No, that was probably around like
like 7, 8 maybe.
Well, we were calling. I remember because in the clip I say 20 by end of year.
Yeah, none of us, Ivan, are bearish on SoFi. I don't know why you would think that. Less excited does not mean bearish. I'm less excited about PayPal. It's a longer term investment than I initially thought. There's some exciting things going on, but it's not as exciting as it was a year ago. Palantir is actually as exciting because it's an amazing company. I was about to say it's less exciting. It's like, no, I'm lying. It's amazing. So, but there are times just because a company is less exciting, as long as you're willing to still spend time making sure that it's right, like going through the earnings call or any major news that's happening or whatever your style is, that's not a bad thing. You can make plenty of money on companies that you are like, not the most interesting company in the world. Like take Warren Buffett's portfolio, most of it. Boring stuff that nobody is interested in, but he made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First to $1,000 a share, Nvidia or Tesla. Nvidia's at 112. Tesla is at 254.
Yeah, Tesla.
I'm gonna go with Tesla.
Tesla.
Tanner, are you off the creatine?
I've never taken creatine in my life. Actually, the only time I've ever taken creatine was I was going through Costco taking samples, and there were like these little cups of liquid that this girl was like handing out. And I took it just thinking it was like some sports drink or energy drink or something. I just always try every sample. And it just tastes like water. And I was like, what is that? And I look over, it's like creatine monohydrate. I was like, this is what you're handing out as a sample? I was like, how am I going to know if I like it or not? Like,
yeah.
But that's the only time I've ever taken creatine.
Can you still put in your thumbnails SoFi news today if news comes out?
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to do that.
Yeah. All right, we've been live for over 2 hours. 2 hours.
We're gonna keep going, ladies and gentlemen. The show doesn't stop. We got another advertisement coming in the next 15 minutes, so stick around while we talk about Shark Ninja.
We're 2 hours in.
Why'd the audience just get cut in half? No one wants. All right.
To a 24-hour stream. Let's fucking go.
Yes. Roto says yes. Let's go.
2 more hours, please.
The show must go on.
Joby full DD.
Lo-Fi Weekly. But all you guys wear ski masks so nobody knows who you are.
I mean, I'm going to be in the dark, so I don't even need ski mask.
You
must have had a shot of creatine, Tanner.
Yeah. Dude, I actually hate my hair. We can cancel just because of this. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm ready to get going.
All right. So no 24-hour stream.
No, we can do it. We can do it. All right.
Direct Ninja, ain't nobody paying for that.
Tevis actually has a juggling talent. So we're going to get into a little talent show.
Juggling.
He can juggle.
So
no, there's still every Friday we're still going to get together and talk about SoFi stock. That's happening.
The name may need to change, and we may
the
not.
The name is changing. The topics are not changing.
For the 231 of you that got the scoop, don't be surprised if you see a clickbaity video from me because I haven't made a video in 2 weeks, and I need something. So right after this, I'm probably going to record a video around how SoFi Weekly is done and dusted. So don't be scared if you see that with a scary thumbnail. It is true. It's just not. It's just a name. Kind of slacking. Yeah, Michelle. Yes.
Cole said Tanner needs a shot of melanin.
Record it live. That's wild. I'm not me, Kevin. I don't have that ability. I stutter too much. I need to have you seen the jump cuts in my video? Man, it's insane. I really enjoy the content y'all share on the overall market. I'd like to see something includes emerging growth stocks. Thanks, Steve. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we're gonna frame that email.
I mean, it sounded genuine. I don't know.
It is genuine. Yeah.
Tevis all about that clickbait lately, dude. Tanner always giving me shit. Tanner.
Where did I get brought into this?
And not you.
Oh, sorry.
Put the email behind your wall.
It's not a common name. I don't see it often.
Ooh, want more views, Tevis? How about selling all SoFi for TSLY? Is TSLY the negative one, the one that it goes down? Or
It's the yield max version. Are you familiar with it?
no?
So if it ends with a Y, it's usually yield max. And the goal is they basically sell cash secured puts and covered calls very aggressively. There is a fairly high maintenance fee. And even though they have incredible dividends, if you look at the yield, let me see what that one is. It usually will underperform the actual.
Hair of the Tevis God says, Tevis, can you have a fan blowing through your hair? Dude, you see how short my hair is right now? What do you mean a fan? Like, this is all it does.
You know, I used to have really long hair, like down to my shoulders.
Me too.
I actually saw that. I remember that.
Yeah, Tanner's seen pictures. It exists right down to here.
Roto says, nah, Roy, don't let Tevis find out about it or he'll full pour it into that. I will say yield is 130% dividend on that.
I want hippie Tanner.
Also, can we talk about Vlad's hair growth? What the heck happened? Like last time I saw him, he had hair like me. And then the next time I saw him, it was like during the gold event, it was like back, past his shoulders. I'm like, what the heck happened?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Pick or it didn't happen.
He means my hair, not Vlad's hair.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he meant for both of us.
Thank you, everybody, for still being here. Yes, your boyfriend, Vlad. Ivan is just on fire tonight, man. Any last words before we...
I have many last words. You keep trying to end it.
Well,
we have many more minutes to go.
It was not my fault you were like an hour and a half late.
I'm not late. This is not my show.
Yeah, the markets, guys, I don't know. Like nobody knows if they're bottomed or not. Just, if you're investing, have long-term horizons, invest in quality companies, and only invest money that you can afford to lose. It's same advice as always. It just seems like it's easier to listen to in times like this. So, and over the long term, you'll probably do pretty well. Don't, I guess also don't get caught up in emotion. Tevis talked about it a little bit too, where he's been busy. I've been like right now is like crazy busy for me. And that's a great thing. We don't need to be staring at, and I love the markets and everything, but if I'm staring at the screen like 24 hours a day and like, oh, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, you just get nauseous. It's okay to take a step away and enjoy life from time to time.
If you had, I think that's great advice, Roy, and I should have ended on that, but I'm an idiot, so I'm not. If you had to gift a framed physical stock to your 20-year-old brother, would it be Tesla, Nvidia, Berkshire, or Amazon? If you can afford a share of Berkshire, then gift him Berkshire, dude.
I think he means Berk B, but
yeah, probably Berk B. Tesla.
Yeah, probably Tesla has probably the most fair. Nvidia, I don't know. Probably Tesla or Nvidia, I would say, is like the sexy. I'm trying to think from like a 20-year-old's perspective.
I think it super matters what they're into.
Yeah.
Just literally buy whatever you think. Yeah.
Roy, do you know what time it is?
I guess we'll launch one last ad.
Ascension is asking for it.
Yeah. Blame him, guys.
I think he's looking forward to 12 more minutes. He's not looking forward to the advertisement.
Too late.
You've already hit it.
Time. Thank you, everybody, for 2 hours and 19 minutes.
Who are you signing off to? You just hit an advertisement.
Fun chats. Well, they'll rewind and they'll watch the ad. Just stop. All right. I'm muting Tanner. We will see you next week at
I'm
some
still
point.
here.
Shut up. We will see you next week at some point on the Bootleg Weekly podcast. Thank you so much, Roy and
Sponsored
Tanner. And I just had to kick him. And we'll see you. Thank you for the subscription as well. See you all for the unnamed weekly podcast on Friday of this week.
Yeah. My vote is something weekly. Just
something weekly. Any word from you?
Bye.
We don't care. Okay. Thanks, everybody. See ya.